Dallas, Texas. Summers where May 1st it was 100 degrees and it wouldn't dissipate. It was brutal. All right, enough of the meteorological crap. Let's talk about baseball and this ridiculous play on May 27th between the Cubs and the Pirates. If you're a baseball fan, you've seen it, and you're probably still scratching your head. And I watched it, and I was shaking my head. In all the years I've played the game, coached it, and umpired it, I had never seen anything so ridiculous as this. And then I got to thinking, MLB actually has a rule that you have to run face forward around the bases because years ago, decades ago, I think it was in the 50s, I was going to look it up and I just didn't take the time, where a guy hit a home run and he ran the bases backwards. Well, believe it or not, there is a rule in MLB at the umpire's discretion. If you make a mockery of the game, you can be penalized. Yep, that's a rule. It's in the umpire section. And we have broad jurisdiction on what we can do. We can call the play dead and the batter out. We can do a lot of stuff. In this play, yeah, you think about Ringling Brothers' three-ring circus because that's basically what it was. You've got two outs. You got a runner on. The ball's hit to third. The third baseman throws it to first. If his throw would have been on target, it wouldn't have pulled the first baseman off. But he didn't. So that's where it starts. Here comes the zoo. All Craig, the first baseman for the Pirates, has to do is take 2 steps back, touch the bag, innings over. It's 1-0 Cubs. But for some unknown reason, and depending how Craig's career goes, he will always be remembered for this brain fart, to say the least. He tries to chase Baez back to home plate. Now, wait a minute. You have no place to go. The runner has to go to first base. He can't go to home. And there is no rule that addresses this per se. But the more I watched it, and I broke it down with a friend of mine, exactly what I was watching, and it's like, there is a rule that could have been applied. And I'm sure the umpires talked about it afterwards because they're shaking their heads going, what the hell did we just see? I know if I'd have been calling that game, I'd have been confused and probably would have called a conference with the other umpire, said, what are we going to do here? There's something not right. Well, what's not right is a pitcher is penalized when he balks. And a balk came up because pitchers were deceiving base runners. And that's why there are certain motions we as a pitcher have to do so the runner knows that you just can't inadvertently pick him off or feint a throw to home and throw it to first or third. There are certain things we have to do, like towing the rubber, coming to a set, stepping with our plant foot by the mound, stepping behind it to disengage. And that gives the runner an indication that he might throw the ball over here and try and pick me off. Well, that's what I saw in this play. After dissecting it, I would have called interference. Well, why would you have called interference? Because Javier Baez is now interfering with a play at the plate. Watch Craig, which, that was just a dumbass move on his part, runs down the line, and then he has to throw the ball over Baez's head so it doesn't hit him, so the catcher can receive the throw and tag the runner coming from third to home. And the umpire calls him safe. Baez is interfering with the play at the plate. Obviously, there wouldn't have been a play if Craig would have stepped on first base. None of this would have happened. And I can see MLB instituting a rule that when the batter puts the ball in play, he must advance to first base. He cannot backtrack. Otherwise, I guarantee you, there are going to be coaches starting in the Little League. Oh, geez. Excuse me. Yeah, the pollen count is up. There are going to be coaches that watch this. Little League, junior high, high school, college, because we kind of saw a play like this, what was it, 35 years ago with Wichita State and the University of Miami in the fake throw to first base. And all hell broke loose on the base paths because nobody knew who had the ball, and the first baseman had it the whole time. Yet players came out of the dugout, which players can't come out of the dugout, trying to entice the Wichita State runner to run to second, which he did and was tagged out quite easily. I can see coaches implementing what Javier Baez did. In a similar situation, let's see if we can confuse the defense. Well, to me, that's like a pitcher committing a balk. You are deceiving the defense. You are deliberately making a mockery of the game. That's what I saw. Now, some people might say, well, you're being a panty waste, and you're not really calling out Craig for being a dumbass. Yeah, I am. He was a dumbass. But I don't want to see that play be used in lower levels. And I've called enough games through the years to know that a lot of coaches aren't teaching the fundamentals of baseball. That's why I have 2 books on it on Amazon. They just want to win at whatever cost possible. They don't care how to do this. They don't care if it's right. They don't care if it's ethical. They don't care if they're making a mockery of the game. If they can get that W, they'll do whatever they can. Well, like I said, I would have called interference because that's exactly what happened when this ridiculous play kept going on. Yeah, it was funny to watch, and it's a real head scratcher, but I'm looking down the road, and down the road, this is going to be a problem. We're going to see teams deliberately try and do this and confuse the defense. Well, if we're going to do that, let's take balks out of the game. And pitchers can just do whatever they want to when a runner's on. You don't have, you can be in contact with the mound and throw the ball. You don't have to step off. You don't have to toe the rubber. You can turn your body 45 degrees when you've come to a set position. Oh, we don't even come to a set position now. There's a reason the balk rule is there. So if there's anyone in the MLB listening to this, you're going to need to come up with a rule or put it as a subsection of interference, because that's exactly what happened. It's like when A-Rod and the Yankees were playing the Red Sox for the American League pennant, and A-Rod slapped the ball out of the first baseman's glove. Well, the Yankee fans didn't like the call. Of course, the Red Sox fans did. I was watching it going, that's interference. He deliberately knocked the ball out of the first baseman's glove. Of course, he was like, what did I do? What did I do? Well, you interfered with the fielder. You can't take your hand and just try and swat the ball out of his glove. No, and that's a rule. That's why they called it. He interfered with the play. And that's what I see with the Cubs and Pirates game. It was interference, plain and simple. Yeah, it was dumbassery too. Craig, I don't know what you're making a year, but if I'm the manager of the Pirates, I'm going to take my infielders. I'm going to sit them down in a room, and I'm going to run that play for 30 minutes. I'm not going to say a word. 15 would be sufficient. I take that. 30 would be too long, and you'd lose the point of what you're trying to get across. 15 minutes, watch it. You don't have to say a word. When that clip is done, the session is over, everybody gets up and walks out, and now you know what those guys are going to do in the locker room. They are going to start talking to each other, going, what in the hell were you thinking? What were we doing? It definitely wasn't sound fundamental baseball. Not today, not tomorrow, not any day. It was an embarrassment to the Pirate organization. How do you make that mistake? I haven't seen this. I have never seen that in Little League, in junior high, in high school. I've never seen that in games I've called. They know the situation. There's 2 outs. There's 1 on. Ground ball, plays at first. The play is not to run the runner back to the plate, to the batter's box. And that's why I'm calling for this rule to be implemented. He's back in the batter's box. He's interfering. How many times have you seen batters called for interference when the catcher is trying to throw a runner out, advancing to second? You don't see that often, but to third. As long as the batter stays in the box, the catcher's got to go around him. If the batter comes out of the box and the catcher makes contact with him and he can't make the throw to third to get the advancing runner out, that's interference on the batter and the runner's safe. That's what Baez did here. He caused a shitstorm. Plain and simple. It's all it was. So I would like to see this added. And interference, you don't need a whole section, but all you'd have to do, you could put it in when the ball is put in play. Batter puts the ball in play. He must advance to first base and not backtrack. That'd be it. Plain and simple and done. I'm sure the attorneys would argue about backtracking. Well, look it up in the dictionary and you'd understand what it means. Otherwise, you're going to come up with a third of a page of a definition that only needs 2 sentences. That's it. And that's my take on that fiasco on May 27th between the Pirates and the Cubs. And if you're a coach, don't even think about trying that. Because if I'm behind the plate, 1, I'm calling your batter out for interfering, and 2, I'm either going to warn you or I'm going to throw you out for making a mockery of the game. And that's all I've got to say about that. Y'all have a good day.